What is going on, everybody? We are back from another episode of the ABJ Podcast, episode 96, coming up to the end of the year. The holiday seasons are upon us. Spoiler, this has all been pre-recorded way beforehand. So if you hear some things in here, and you're like, this scene's just behind the curtain. Your boy's cramming them all in early and putting them out weekly. But thank you guys so much for the continued support. It means the world to me. Make sure you check the links below for all things ABJ, whether it be merchandise. There's a lot of stuff that's going on. The main logos are there, but we have that rotation of logos every so many weeks or every month. New ones come in, old ones leave, so you have a chance to get them, and then they might go away for a while and come back. Some awesome movie spoofs, some awesome music spoofs, and all that really fun stuff. So make sure you check out the merch pages below. Huge shout out to everyone who has made logos for me and has been making logos. Witchcrafts by Lily, logos by Hunter. So many good people. If you're looking for logos, their rates are really good and they can do really fun spoofs and all that stuff. So if you're looking for it, hit them up. Their links are below as well. Also, my guest links are below. So make sure you support my guests, whether by following them on social media, checking them out wherever they're wrestling or performing or wrestling at. The power of social media is huge. So if you want to see matchups or you want to see this person in your local promotion, tag your promotions, like, hey, get this person in, because I'm telling you, you have more power than you think you know by using social media and tagging people to come and get some opportunities. And let's get these talents out there. And coming into this new year of 2024, let's use this podcast platform and these amazing interviews we've been putting together all year, closing in on 100 for these opportunities for them to get their work outside of just this podcast and get them on promotions in your neck of the woods and go support them. Without further ado, super excited for this guest. Been a fan of him for so long. Got to work my first ever production in a professional wrestling environment happened with this guy and his production of Frog Sport. I don't have it anymore in the background. I'm going to put it back right here, but I have the kick pad still. It was one of my favorite moments of professional wrestling. It was the biggest fake it till you make it. I'm going to be completely honest, Matt. I'm sorry. So if it came out shitty, that's my fault, but I never knew how to video edit. I was, a lot of that production was just my stuff I threw in the trunk of a car. And it was such an amazing experience. And it launched me into where I am now with production and now doing commentary at places. But Frog Sport was super special to me. You can go back and watch all of Frog Sport as well as all the things that Camp Leapfrog and High Tension on their YouTube page. So head over to High Tension Wrestling, check out the Frog Sport. It was unbelievable. It's your blood sport mixed with mixed martial arts, mixed with Mortal Kombat. It was so much fun. And the ending match between him and Darius Carter is a must-watch match. It's so good. But met him back then. Just recently had a pretty severe injury. We'll talk about that. Now on his recovery and his road back. By the time you've heard this, he's been on the scene, killing it, tearing it up. Possibly signed by now, we'll say, because but we'll get it all going. We'll talk about it. Let me bring in Matt Makowski. What's going on,
Anthony?
Bud?
What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm super excited for this. I'm happy to see your face again. The beard is still there to an extent.
Yeah, to my wife's, she
don't like it?
She wasn't happy. No,
Oh,
I think you look. The video I made where I shaved was like the happiest day she had in a long time.
I like the beard. I think it's a good look for you.
I've heard people say that. I think maybe if I don't know.
Listen, she's the boss, so if she don't like it,
yeah. Somehow there was like money involved or something, then maybe I could have the beard. But other than that, I gotta keep it pretty trim.
Yeah. Well, you had that David Letterman beard. I mean, that thing was out there. Like I said, it looked like Devontae's beard, just this big bird's nest. I seen you. I don't know where exactly in your recovery phase you were. Like you weren't on crutches or anything. I didn't notice any bracer, but it was at Avery Good's last match at the brewery.
Yeah.
And I seen you there, and you came up and said hi, and I was like, wait. And I was like, oh my God, because it was like,
yeah, it was just starting a little bit. It was like a little longer than this. My hair was like tad, a little longer, but yeah, that was only, I think that was pre-surgery even.
Really?
Yeah, I had to wait about 2 months for surgery. So yeah, I might have been hobbling around, just with the torn ACL at that point. So
yeah. So how did the ACL injury happen? How did it go down?
I was in a match. I was actually wrestling Victor Benjamin, and I went for a throw, in the match, and it just my knee wasn't having it. So
Were you able to continue?
No, that was I like got up, was wobbly, and he noticed, and we kind of like called something out real quick, and then like I knew it was bad. So yeah, luckily it was a taping. There weren't really many fans there at all, so it just kind of got scrapped. Really,
Yeah, which is a bummer. That's a matchup, man. That's something I'd like to see run back. You and Victor. That's a good matchup. I mean,
Victor's a beast.
Dog sport. He's been on blood sport. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, me too. But yeah. Yeah, we'll see down the road. He's killing it now too. So but
maybe
yeah,
maybe take that Butterfingers title off him.
Yeah, that's.
I made a joke to him. I said, "Listen, I think it's super cool you have it, but like, no offense, that's a title that you're safe with me, and I think that's a gross candy. I don't like it at all."
I'm down for some Butterfinger. Don't get me wrong.
It's like chalk, peanut butter chalk. It's like
I like that. What is that called in the middle? It's like I don't know.
I can't. Listen, you make a Carmelo's title, I'm hitting the gym. You know what I mean? I'm coming for that Carmelo's, or if you make a Kit Kat championship, I'm all about it. You know what I mean? So how was the road to recovery? I know we talked a little bit off camera about this, and I'll let you with your comfort zone go to it. But you're as an athlete, I know setbacks are always huge and they're tough mentally and physically. And I was kind of telling you before we went going, and this is not just telling you this so you could hear it. Like I'm pretty genuine with when I say to people, like, I'm a fan of what you do and I'm a fan of you as a person. And I feel your trajectory going up was on a level that even everybody was like, we were all talking like, yo, this guy it's gonna be here, it's going. And then the injury just kind of cut it on you, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it was tough. I mean, I had wrestled in I think I was in Mexico the week before, wrestling the CMLL heavyweight champion of the world, which is amazing. And then the week before that, it was Tom Lawler in the main event at a Black Label Pro show, so like, yeah, I mean, it was yeah. And then the injury happened. I mean, it sucks. Like I kind of, it's I've dealt with things like this before, not to that degree. The torn ACL takes a bit of time, and I was just kind of mentally preparing myself for just the rehab and everything, and then trying to get back, and then trying to maybe not completely fall off the face of the earth in terms of people's mind, just trying to stay present and maybe post things here and there on whatever highlight videos or just old content, and just to try to stay relevant in some way. But yeah, I mean, I got nothing but support from people. That was huge. Just people that I've only ever met in passing at shows that were maybe like veterans, some bigger names would like reached out to me, and I'm like, oh geez, I guess I need to come back and wrestle. It's like it was extremely motivating for some of the folks that reached out to me. It was colleagues, friends, and then again some folks that I maybe have never even met, that kind of hit me up and were like, hey man, I heard you got injured, I know you'll be back, and stuff like that. Just supportive messages, which was amazing. But yeah, I mean, it was tough. I knew it would be tough. I was hoping maybe I'd be back. I hurt in March. I was hoping maybe I could be back by like WrestleMania time the following year. That didn't happen. But then there was part of me that was like, I'd rather come back too late than come back too early.
Exactly. Don't want to.
I can't really. Yeah, I can't. Probably wouldn't be able to handle another major setback like that. So, I'm very happy with how everything has gone so far, and I feel great. I haven't had any issues with the knee, in my matches or anything. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I have like it's almost like a full-time job trying to maintain my body now, and I have a routine every day. I get up, I do some breathing exercises. I get in a cold plunge for 15 minutes. Then I do like a 20-minute mobility routine. I go for a 30-minute walk, and now I can eat. And it's just on top of then whenever I plan for my exercise for the day, I joined a fitness club with a pool because I don't want to run anymore because of my knee. So I swim now for cardio a lot. And, my over the pandemic and everything, I'm lucky that my wife is fairly into fitness as well. So we're basically kind of made I've got like a Planet Fitness in my basement for the most part, but
Nice.
yeah, just like a rack and a barbell and weights and anything, most of what I would need. And yeah, I get creative too. I do the best with what I have. But yeah, as soon as I could, I was hitting it hard in terms of like fitness, exercise. I wanted to come back in the best shape, and I feel like I accomplished that. I haven't been even when I was fighting mixed martial arts like 15 years ago. Maybe wasn't even in this good a shape. So
I said you're on your Kenny Omega, right? Because Kenny, he had that severe injury, and like he was even putting stuff out there. Like he was real down, like mentally. Like he's like, he goes, I'm gonna be honest. If I have an injury like this again, I think I might be done. That rehabilitation and coming back was excruciating. But just what you said, he's on that level too, where he's like, I changed my diet, I've changed the way I work, the way I do things. I'm supplementing this out because I want to save my body for when I do perform. And I, like I said, I think you're on to some big and great things. You made some cool return videos. They were really fun. So people, please seek those out because they were really cool. But then I just seen you had one of your first matches back, and you're already hitting top rope flipping arm bars again, which is awesome.
Yeah, I wanted to. Part of me was like, all right, can't do WrestleMania weekend. What about maybe like American Rana? I've worked with Beyond Wrestling for a long time. They're a huge reason that I'm maybe as successful as I am on the independents. And American Rana is their big show, and I started wrestling for them in 2019. It was a Discovery Gauntlet thing, so it wasn't like a huge like ongoing thing, but. Basically, I've never wrestled in American Rana, and it's 2023 now for like crazy reasons. Like, obviously the global pandemic, that's pretty insane. And then I think the next year there was a hurricane in Massachusetts, a hurricane. And then the following year I was injured. So this was like a big, that meant a lot to me to be able to wrestle at an American Rana this year against Marcus Mathers. And, yeah, I thought it went great. So
that kid's gonna be special. That's a
future.
That's a future of that bit of the business. You look at Marcus, you look at Jordan, you look at Griffin, you look at that whole Young, Dumb, and Broke crew, and then you have some other ones coming up. Like they're so early in their career, but been backyarding since they're 14.
I know, he's
they're
so
like,
young.
They're like 15-year veterans.
I think he just turned 21. I think he can drink now. But I was like, go see you like 25, and he's like, I'm 20, and I'm like, oh my god, I could be your dad.
Yeah.
Like legitimate.
And then you're like, how long you been wrestling? Like, oh, 10 years now.
Yeah, right.
I had backyard shows where dudes like from London were flying into our when I interviewed Griffin, I was like, wait, you had like people from like I don't know if he's an Osprey or something. He goes, we had ridiculous people coming into our backyard to wrestle who were nobodies at the time, and we're 14. Like, I'm like that. That's
backyard scene is crazy. I'm pretty good friends with Matt DeMorris, and he would just tell me all about the backyard scene. It was just, they would organize these shows, and with the internet in the early 2000s, they were on these forums, and it was like, it was guys from England and they would fly to do these backyard shows. It's crazy.
Yeah, and like we're getting the product of that generation now on the scene, and they're killing it. Like people are like, oh, these Billy Starks and Jordan Olivers and Nick Waynes, where they been? Like, no, they've been doing so for a long time.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's that new hybrid of wrestler is absolutely insane. So that's a cool match back, and you and him just tore it apart. But so you originally trained let's kind of reset the clock a little bit. Originally mixed martial artist, had some cool fights, and I'll be the one to say it. You made a legend's little brother verbally quit. I think that's cool.
Yeah, that fight pops up every couple months or years, I guess. It always ends up on some wacky list like weirdest MMA finishes or whatever because of he didn't get up. He just wouldn't get up off the mat. Like he was just sitting there. I think I counted finally this year. I can't remember. It's like 11 leg kicks or something. Yeah. I kicked him in the leg a whole lot. And
Well, the thing is, I think a lot of people are quick to say, oh, Matt Serra's little brother refused to stand up, but it wasn't a choice. Like you,
I always counted it as a TKO. It's difficult to see, and it looks bad because there's like a camera cut right as he sits down. I've watched this fight now a bunch of times. There's a camera cut right as he sits down, and it cuts right as I'm kicking him. So I kick him, then he sits down, and maybe people don't see that, but it kind of just looks like he just sat. Like he just was like, we were kind of circling, and then he just sits. And I think maybe that's what people are seeing or perceive that to happen. But I do hit him, and then like a second later he takes a seat.
Well, that sport has evolved so quickly. Like just the education of that sport. So like back in the day, if you would have like you finished a dude with leg kicks, that's pre Jose Aldo. That's pre exactly. That's pre Conor McGregor getting finish with a leg kick, and people are like, oh, that's so like, no, you hit a right nerve or you hit it, like you're done. Like they're worse than knockouts, and
that's 100% a good point. Like people just didn't even really understand like kicks. People are like, kicks, like everyone kind of gets, punch. Everyone kind of, it's like wrestling. It's like everyone kind of relate to getting like punched or hit in the face. But like getting kicked in the leg, that doesn't seem like something, but it definitely is.
And getting knocked out, you go to sleep and you wake up, you're like, what happened? Getting hit in the leg, you're there the whole time. You're like, my leg is like, cut it off.
There's some gnarly pictures of dudes with like their legs are like swollen out and it's wrapped up and they can't like walk for a couple days.
Uriah,
that's exactly what I'm thinking of.
And Jose Aldo was like the first time in the sport's really existence where they're like, wait a second, you can just finish dude with leg kicks. Like he never threw a punch to the head. He was just crushing his legs. And it's just like, once again, like now one person sees that's the formula, and then everyone starts going to the leg kicks. And then that years later, you have like 4 leg breaks on check leg kicks. Like it's just always evolving. Like, cause
now it's like kicking to the calf because of the nerve that you were kind of mentioning earlier. Like that wasn't even really a thing when I was fighting. I would have been doing that, but that's not what we were taught. It was kind of like a leg kick from in Muay Thai. It is a very common technique. And now people are getting kicked in the calf like 2-3 times, and then they're like hobbling around. That happened. That's what happened to McGregor with Poirier, I believe.
Yeah, everyone's like, oh, he just took a dive. I'm like, he's like, no, I had no leg. I had nothing to stand on, which left my head open.
It's if you've never done it, it's hard to understand or relate to. If you're just a fight fan or you're just kind of watching, maybe you're not a fight fan, but there's a big fight on and you're watching it with your friends. You're like, what's happening?
Yeah. So how did you transition to going from the mixed martial arts status into, changing over to professional wrestling? I know we did a little bit of an interview back on the Tornado Tag Day, so I don't want to rehash everything. But you are a lifelong fan. You were a fan of wrestling pretty much your entire like childhood growing up, wrestling certain wrestling promoters in their living rooms. I heard,
was that Alex? I don't know. Maybe Alex. So Alex,
our cousin, or
I don't know if me and him actually did wrestle, but he was friends with my brother, Alex Watt, the promoter for High Tension Wrestling we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had like a neighborhood wrestling league. There's tapes. I have literal VHS tapes of these wrestling matches we had. So yeah, I've been doing it since I was a kid. I was a big Bret Hart fan, and then I kind of fell off. Honestly, in the Attitude Era, it just kind of wasn't my thing, and sort of discovered indie wrestling through Chikara. I went to Temple in Philadelphia and started training mixed martial arts in Philadelphia, and yeah, I had a friend at the gym who was going to the King of Trios event in 2009. And he was like, "Yeah, you want to come?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, I like wrestling. That was cool." And my mind was like blown. I couldn't believe that this is what wrestling could be. All my experience to that point was television wrestling, like WWE or in WCW. And I just couldn't believe it. I was definitely that moment I pinpoint as like the basically planted the seed. It was a long time ago, 2009. It didn't get rolling for me until a lot later. But really, from there on, I always kind of thought like maybe I could try that. Still kind of fighting. My career was actually my MMA, professional MMA fighting career was kind of wrapping up. Honestly, I stopped fighting in 2010. And then there's this kind of like this dead area there for a few years. Where I was basically just kind of working at the gym, kind of personal training, continuing to train myself. And I thought maybe I'd open up my own academy, something like that. But just things happen, life happens. I got married. I ended up having two wonderful children. So the academy thing wasn't really maybe just didn't seem to fit at the time. But I kind of needed something for myself. I kind of had the gym I was working at was going through some issues, and eventually kind of left there. And I needed something new for myself and like a new frontier. And I kind of just went back to wrestling. The Wrestle Factory was offering these free classes, and I'm like, what do I have to lose? I'm gonna try this out. This was in 2016. So I go there and I love it. It's a lot like what I do in jiu-jitsu class, or it's very similar. And I'm kind of taken by this. And then kind of fast forward a little bit, I decided to start full-time training in 2018, and that's kind of when things really started moving.
Who are some people in your early classes that you started training with?
Like other wrestlers?
Yeah.
Travis Huckabee was kind of like a senior student at the time, and he was definitely one of the more like.
By the way, one of my favorite tag teams, you and Travis. I love it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Like Travis was kind of like had like this seniority to him in terms of like the students. He wasn't, or he may have just started to get on the main roster, so he was kind of like a rookie, but he was like kind of a leader among the students. Edith Surreal, me and her started around the same time. Ultimo Ant, the Cyberhawks were a similar timeline. Max Zero, Pancakes, all those Crucible guys, the Jet Jagori. So that's
the entire high tension roster.
yeah. Basically.
Well, the reason I say that is because like a lot of those names are still active and on pretty high levels right now in their career, doing really well, making PWI 500s and stuff like that. So that's pretty exciting. That it just shows you how talented that class was and how like motivated you guys kind of all were to keep going.
Yeah, I think about this every now and then. Like, if Chikara had kept going, what it would look like now with the people, with our experience level now. Like again, another name, Boomer Hatfield, Shay McCoy. I feel like we would have had something special going. I know, like when we got in, we were all pretty green and rookies. So it was like obviously some development there, and we still are, but. 4 years later, I think we probably could have done some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, especially where wrestling is now with, you have, we were kind of talking off camera, you have, GCW on Fight TV where that's going crazy. You have IWTV that's blowing up. You have Premiere, the Freddie Prinze Jr. network that's blowing up. Like there's so many places to consume independent wrestling. Like that could have easily been with that talent, and not giving any credit to anyone or taking credit away from anyone, but I'm giving it more to the talent that was in this school and the mindset of the talent that were at that school. Like that easily could have been rivaling a GCW right now,
Yeah, I mean, I'll just to your point, like the fact that almost everyone I just named, I think all of them, we're still going.
Yeah.
We're still chugging. So it's I'm very happy for those people. They will always have like a special place in my history and my professional wrestling career. So yeah, I'm sure I'm probably going to wrestle some of them more down the line, hopefully.
Yeah. Well, let's kind of switch gears into that. So you've been doing this for a little bit. You had obviously the issues that that went down with Chikara, that the doors kind of closed there. We'll just consider that's a setback, right? There's a setback there. Start to get your feet under your ground. You lose your school, you lose your promotion. Then you guys get back into it. Global pandemic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like a lot of your story has been those setbacks.
Sorry to cut you off. I don't like, I just don't know if I've had it bad or if because I've had a bunch of stuff and it's just, I feel like everyone has to have gone through this kind of thing, but maybe not to the level you're describing. So I don't know. Yeah, I'm sorry. If there's anything else you can think right off, go ahead.
There's a name out there of someone like, I'm not sure if you ever had a one-on-one or a work with them, but someone like, if I was in your shoes of someone, I would pick their brain because I feel like you guys have had a similar trajectory on going through everything that we just talked about, injury setbacks, promotion setbacks, the whole nine. Deshaun Pratt, you know what I mean? Like you talk about top of the game, everything happens. Top of the game, injury, like, and now he's training and he's the head trainer at CZW and stuff like that. Like, it just I asked him the same question I ask you is what mental headspace do you put yourself in to keep overcoming these setbacks? Because it'd be so easy for someone to be like, this ain't where it's supposed to be. Look at all these bad things that are happening. I'm done. I'm moving on. What do you put yourself in that headspace to keep pushing and keep going forward?
I wish I had this like really intelligent, like philosophical answer. My thoughts might be a little bit scattered with this, but I've actually been doing like a lot of like mental performance training and a lot of you look at like just focusing on like your own path and everything happens for a reason. You just kind of have to like if you want something, then you gotta try to make it happen regardless of any roadblocks or anything that kind of gets in your way. It's like what I even heard this today, like the path doesn't prepare for you, you prepare for the path. So you don't know what's going to be, you don't know what difficulties or you're going to endure or encounter. But you just kind of have to always like adapt and roll with the punches. And, if this is something you want to do, then you just got to keep pushing through all this stuff. I mean, it'd be easy to feel sorry. And trust me, I have, like it's, I mean, yeah, like just to kind of one of the biggest things that stung is the Ring of Honor thing. I was at their last taping. I had 2 matches of Ring of Honor before it was closed, and that hurt, right? Because that's basically where I want to be, and I'm like, I'm in the door. I'm 2-0 in Ring of Honor right now. All right. Nobody can take that away from me. I made my debut at the 2300 arena. And
which is so sick, but like being
that's
a Philly
special
kid
building for me. I'm like, I have my fingers crossed for like Mania weekend, the collective. I don't think Brent Lauderdale's going to listen to this, but if he does, they probably already have
power
it
of
set
social media. This is what we do. You put it out there.
I hope that's where the collective is, because that's where I would like to wrestle. But anyway, because I had like my second amateur fight in that building in like 2005. I had my last professional MMA fight in that building in 2010 in the main event of a local promotion. And then to make my Ring of Honor debut in that same building, that I had fought in, it was pretty special for me. So like I have this connection with that place, and I'll never forget that. It was amazing. And then obviously, so the whole Ring of Honor thing happens. And then, still obviously rolling with the punches, we were talking about it. Like I was in Mexico. I wrestled the CMLL heavyweight champion, Hechicero, amazing wrestler. I was wrestling Tom Lawler, who may have been the New Japan Strong Champion at the time. I wrestled him on the Independence at Black Label Pro in the main event. And my first match in the promotion, I'm in the main event with against Tom Lawler. And then then the knee, and it's just like, oh man. Obviously this is in this business, like my body is my business. I can't, it was the same in MMA, if you're hurt or you can't do it, then you can't work, and you're basically not, you're of like no value to a degree, because you can't perform. So I just knew it was just another thing that I was going to have to overcome and kind of get over. I've had so much support from my family. My wife is a saint. She's just been so amazing through all of this. It's a little crazy for your husband, who's, pushing past his mid 30s, to be like, hey honey, I'm going to try to be a pro wrestler. I mean, I coach at mixed martial arts gym throughout the week. Again, I mentioned the kids, a lot of the stuff with the kids. I was taking care of the kids during the day while my wife was working and all that. So, I've put a lot into this. I always kind of like to say I burned the boats, and that there's no going back, and part of my mentality is like, well, if I have to learn to make new boats to go somewhere else, maybe I'll do that. But for right now, I've burned the boats. I'm on Pro Wrestling Island, and I'm not going anywhere else until the wheels fall off. That was the other thing I tell myself, like, I'm not going until the wheels fall off. I blew a tire. I got a new one. I'm back. I'm still here.
Fender damage, but
I'm still chugging. Yeah. So yeah, I mean,
so you're at home, and I'm just painting a scenario. If I'm right with the scenario, please tell me. If I'm way off base, just be like, you're a fucking idiot. Shut up. But you're at home, you're recovering. You're like, okay, I want to get back. I want to do everything. And then the announcement comes. Philadelphia, 2024.
Oh, yeah. Well,
does that light a fire?
Absolutely. Yeah, it definitely did. I mean, I was like, oh my goodness. And here's the other thing, though. I want to kind of dial it back a little bit. I feel like I know Mania weekends probably historically made some people, I guess. I mean, I don't know. Do you have any examples of people that have sort of been made from a WrestleMania weekend? I feel like honestly, it's a Speedball. Like, I know you're gonna bring him up a little bit, but like, it's like Speedball Bailey weekend every weekend, because he'll wrestle 9 times and every match will be the best match on the show, and it's like Speedball.
Speedball's the most recent name that I feel that had the best Mania weekend in the past 3 or 4 years. There, like last year, I can't really speak on last year because last year was on the other coast, so I don't know what came from the other coast because it's hard. There's so much wrestling; it's hard to say who had it. I had people who I thought were going to have bigger Mania weekends. The people who I thought had a cool Mania weekend was Darius, because he came from the East Coast to the West Coast and had a great showing, I feel. But like Effie, maybe 2 or 3 years before that, Effie had that big Mania weekend where that kind of launched like them.
Yeah.
But yeah, Speedball's definitely the name that I would say, like, if you go and you put the work in. But also, Speedball didn't just lay in the cut for a year or two and then Mania weekend happened. No, Speedball put the work in now.
Yeah.
Like we're talking about, it's now September. You have a couple months to put the work in to get noticed, to get the opportunities, to get booked 9 times on Mania weekend, and then go out there and put the shows on.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, in terms of me, I mean, for my goals for this coming spring, it's really just a couple quality matches. Like I'm talking like 1 or 2. I'm cool with 1 or 2, and I'm gonna try to bring as many people as I can to this thing. I mean, because like I as much as I've wrestled, I haven't wrestled that much in Philadelphia. And you know, I wrestle up in like Massachusetts a lot, or maybe Atlantic City is somewhat closer. That's still, you know, for somebody that's maybe a casual or a friend of mine, it can be a long way to go for something they're not, you know, crazy into. But I know I've been kind of like gearing them up, like, hey, look, I'm saving this because now that I'm back, people are like, hey, I want to come see you, I want to come watch you wrestle. I'm like, that's awesome. You know, I'll let them know about shows, and I've had some people come out who've never been to a wrestling show before, and they're coming to watch me, and they're like, oh, this is so fun, this is awesome. I'm like, I know, you just got to give it a chance. People professional wrestling is like so underrated and misunderstood.
Once you come to one
right?
live show, it's over. You like,
yeah,
you go to
really,
one, you're like, oh, I'm back.
Event. But yeah, I'm kind of saving all my marbles for hopefully like a decent Mania booking or something, and I'm gonna just try to make it seem like I sold half the tickets there or something. I don't know. I'm gonna do my best. I mean, again, I coach at an MMA gym that a lot of them are interested in seeing me do what I maybe do on the weekends sometimes, or I'm coming into class with a black eye, and there like, "What did you do? Were you sparred or fight?" I'm like, wrestling. Like, oh, okay. But yeah, I just want like 1 or 2 quality bookings for that, you know, because at this point, honestly, also with my body and everything, I'm more of a quality over quantity guy. So props to Speedball for wrestling 9 times in like 3 days, but that's not going to be me. I'm telling you right now, unless it's some multi-man stuff. I don't know. I'd do that,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, we could get into a lot of stuff. I put myself through a lot when I do this. It's just the mental kind of comes through the physical. Like I'm exhausted just from the amount of pressure, and I put a lot on myself every match, and that's stuff I need to work on. I know there probably, maybe if any vets see this or hear this, they're probably like, well, this kid, it's freaking wrestling. Just go out there and do some stuff. And I don't know. I just have this thing where every match, I want to try to be the best match on the card. I want to, you know, it's kind of ridiculous to say, but like, I want to try to get signed based on my next match every time. Mm-hmm. And that's probably a lot of undue pressure on myself that I could kind of dissipate if I had maybe a slightly different attitude. But I also feel like a lot of that's why when I do have good matches, it's because I put a lot of work into it. I like to put a lot of thought into what I do, and every match like means something to me. I'll never like throw anything out or take any opportunity for granted. I want to kill it every time I go out there. So I do end up putting a lot of pressure on myself. But I've been working on ways to kind of work through this or maybe bring that down a little bit and just kind of, you know, try to get more comfortable or kind of bring those nerves down before any of my matches.
There's 2 people that stand out to me just from being backstage at so many shows. And my favorite part, I would obviously never film it, but I always say to myself, like, man, if there was a camera crew, this is good B-roll footage. This is good stuff for people to see. Cause like, you know, I was kind of during the Speedball interview, I was talking about how he was saying, like, I like to be transparent about the business. And I know some people don't, but like, I think like how you said his describing was, you get a guy from Japan and a guy from Mexico, don't even know each other's language, have 15 minutes in a room to go over something, and then they separate and then they meet in the ring and put together art. And I'm like, that to me as a fan, and then get to be backstage and see that get put together is so special to me. And I'd never take that for granted. And I'm so thankful I get to be behind that outside the curtain to see that. And then just kind of like watching someone transform at the curtain. That's another special thing for me, is like getting to see that is so special. But then the other thing is after the two talent get their match together and then they separate, then watching that person in their own head kind of separate themselves. Like some people can go to a group of people and chat and talk and have a great time, and but you and one other person that'll stand out. And it's funny because you're both from the same class and you came around the same time. You and Edith go off in your own corners, and like you just like you're shadow forking and you're just talking to yourself and you're just going, and it's such a beautiful moment. Like as someone who's a fan, like I got to see that a lot at Frog Sport, how you kind of just like went off to yourself in the woods and you were just kind of like going through it. I'm like, that's so fucking special. Like I as someone who loves this business, like to me those are moments that are just as cool for me as watching the match get put together in front of the people. You know what I mean?
That's cool. I mean, the Frog Sport thing was 4 matches in the matter of whatever that was, 8 hours.
Yeah, that was sick.
So I mean, that was a day. And then to finish it with that Darius match is one of my favorite matches I probably ever had.
Oh, the camera, the lights, everything about that was so cinematically cool looking.
It was outside, a shame that all that happened kind of, maybe not, but all that happened kind of like during the pandemic, like maybe it wouldn't have been as special, honestly, in front of live audience. Who knows? But,
I mean, I don't know how much it helped launch him, but like I wasn't super aware of Darius until that day, and then leaving that, and then like I was like, I'm a mega fan of this guy. Like
he made that event special. I always say that. Like Darius made that event, and I'm super proud of how all of that came out. That whole event, all the matches. Because like shoot style wrestling can be tough, and it can be tough to make entertaining to maybe a casual wrestling fan. And I thought that the roster did a great job. Darius is basically added like a strong story element to the whole show, and
he was like Thanos. He was like the Thanos to that story.
It was
so good.
Yeah, it was he's obviously one of his strong points is how well spoken he is and his presence. And so, he was an incredible asset to that production.
And how much you want to punch him in the face, but you can't because he'll kill you. But so besides the aspect, and the reason I brought that up as well as the Frog Sport is, and I know we touched a little bit on in the beginning is, but I feel like Frog Sport also showed a side of you that a lot of people weren't aware of. Like with that whole taping and that whole, like, you were the brainchild to a lot of that. Like the high tension was kind of like, hey, we have this idea, we want to put this together, but also you're putting your name on it. You have a lot of stake into it as well. When it came to the editing, the style of how you want things to get put together, like how much of that Frog Sport, like some moments that you contribute to that you're proud of or stuff like that went into that production.
One of my favorite things we did for that was the promotional like video or promo we made for the event, which, there was some like sci-fi elements to it. I think Cheeseburger and Ryan Mooney were hypnotized and tried to attack me at the Worldwide Dojo. And this is a video we made, right? Mm-hmm. And we did like a fight scene in the hallway with those guys. And this was to promote the Frog Sport event. And that's always been a huge.
It was literally. Like it was like watching the like if when you watch Daredevil on Netflix when it was popular, there's a hallway fight scene, and did
you know? Because actually, I watched that, and that's basically where I got the.
When I watched,
you say that.
When I watched the finished product, I don't
think I've told you that.
No, but that's where I pulled from it. I was like, it reminds me that, like, I told Alex, but that reminds me of the Daredevil fight scene in the hallway. And he's like, I think that's what it was inspired by. And I was like,
it was. It was so fun. But and then it's basically it was kind of like this is before maybe even, well, no, maybe cinematic matches had been happening at that point, but it kind of felt like it was like a cinematic to kind of promote this wrestling event that we were doing. And yeah, producing that and choreographing that was a blast. And then as far as the event itself, I would say all of my creative input was taken, and they I think for the most part they used any suggestions I had for anything. There was a lot of kind of cooks in the kitchen, but I was very happy with how everything came out. So
it was so much fun. Like I said, that was for me. It was the first time really learning how to video edit and put things together. Like, so we had pre-fight loading screens. Right. They're like, here's what you have to do. I was like, Google. I was like, I don't know how to do it. And I remember I sent them the files, and they're like, you took so many extra steps, but it worked. And I was like,
okay.
Yeah. But it had the tail of the tapes, but it was like, the best way to describe it, it's Mortal Kombat, but it also had that WCW Thunder where like there's a couple seconds before you pick a character where it's like, you want to pick like Kevin Nash, you want to pick me? Get out of here. But everyone had that loading screen, quick vignette, and then it stopped, and then the next person's like, everything about that show was so much goddamn fun.
I know. I think it's a very underrated professional wrestling event that you should, if you have. It's all on YouTube. You said now,
all
right?
for free on YouTube.
There you go.
High Tension Wrestling network, HTW network, and just look for I always say the two. I think they're all amazing. Like I think Love Frog was an amazing show. I thought the '80s show was an amazing show. You're featured on almost all of that whole run. But the two that stand out to me that I tell people, like, just from beginning to end, story wise, is Frog Sport, and it's also Killing Vision. Frog Sport also wasn't Frog Sport also have the Masha Edith Soviet?
Yeah, it had that. Yeah, it had that random like death match with Edith and
Masha Slamovich, which was. Even the build up to that was cool. And that was a story within a story. Like that was
in the snow. They wrestled in the snow with a ring outside. Yeah, it's unique.
Yeah, it's so good. Definitely go check that out. But what I'm alluding to that is that shows you another aspect of like your creativity side and like what you can do besides professional wrestling. So you do have that, video editing and putting that stuff together, as well as for a while there. I know you said you took a little bit of time off it, but you also developed a video game stream or a Twitch channel.
Yeah. I basically, like a couple other wrestlers, I started streaming during the pandemic, just as something to do, I guess, and to try to like develop maybe another revenue stream. I mean, I had fun with it. It's definitely something I want to get back to. But it kind of got put on the back burner for a little bit.
Please bring it back. Hopefully by the time you bring it back, I can have the funds to get my gaming PC so I can start game streaming. We could team up. We could stream together.
Yeah, I did a lot of that stuff, and I had a lot of fun, like playing like Jackbox with other wrestlers or other people in the community and stuff like that. And I had a lot of fun doing that stuff.
I'm obsessed right now with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre game. Have you played it yet?
I haven't, right? I've seen it. It looks cool.
It's so much fun. It's so much fun. So frustrating though. It's So what are type of games that you enjoyed playing, or some favorite moments from your stream that to stand out for you?
I mean, every Tuesday we would do like the group night. And again, I'm so grateful for them, but it was a lot of the people that I mentioned earlier, Max and Travis, Boomer, Shay, a lot of those people.
Phil was on there a couple times, right? Phil Stamper?
Phil, absolutely. Phil, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention Phil. He would play a lot. We'd play either a group game or like a lot of Jackbox, because that was always just the funniest and it's the most entertaining for other people watching, and they could also participate. We played like the what is it called, the forest, where you're in the woods, like trying to build a cabin and figure out how you can get out of the forest. It's just like really any kind of multiplayer game. Sometimes we would try, like there's like a Mario Party like ripoff called Pummel Party. Okay. We did that. That's kind of funny. stuff like that. And then I had some solo streams. I'd play like RPGs like Ghost of Tsushima, Cyberpunk 2077.
The new update for that just came out.
I saw that. I was actually just kind of messing around with. I haven't opened it in a while, but I was just messing around with it before we got on here. Games like story games. The Resident Evil 8 was it? Maybe
The Village.
Yes, Village.
I just finished that not too long ago. That was shockingly really good. Like,
Oh,
I
I
don't
thought
think
it was
I had
great.
that much fun in a Resident Evil game since Part 2 remake. Like, I
I'm
really
not-
liked Village.
I'm not a horror guy, and like they kind of like the chat or the people in the channel were like, "You gotta play this, play it," and I'm like, "All right." I was a Resident Evil fan. I played them pretty much all of them up until that point. But yeah, there is a moment in that game that I was legitimately like terrified, and and then there's a jump scare, and it got me real bad, and like obviously everybody in the channel saw it, and they like clipped it and like posted it on Twitter and all this stuff. It was like the most scared I've ever been. Like
Resident
publicly.
Evil, I say they're good horror games, but they become more story action later on.
Yeah,
Like in the
absolutely.
very beginning, they scare the shit out of you, and then you become desensitized to the monsters or the evil.
Oh yeah,
and then you're just having fun. You know what I mean?
The rest of the game wasn't that scary, but there's just a couple scenes in there, a couple areas where it's like, holy shit! It just you're kind of like, this is so
like Outlast. I don't know how people play that.
I've never played it.
No chance at all. Where you can't fight back. I hate those games.
Oh, that's the worst.
Yeah, like you just have to hide or run. But what are some games since everything going on that you're like I haven't had a chance to pick up or that's out there that you want to start playing?
Honestly, it is so funny you mention this because I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to play that. I'm going to wait to play it on stream. And then I don't play it because I'm like, I'm going to start streaming again and I want to play that on stream. So I have like a list of games, but it's like at this point, they're like, are you playing this old stuff from like 2 years ago? But the God of War games, like both of them, the two newer ones, I wanted to play those on stream. The new Final Fantasy game, I actually have not played yet, and I'm a huge Final Fantasy fan. Maybe even like the Zelda game.
I tried. That frustrated me so. Like the Breath of the Wild. I was like, this is not fun. Everything breaks. I'm getting hit by lightning. I hate it.
I've got a Switch with my boys play the Switch a lot, but or a little bit, and I borrowed I think Breath of the Wild from a friend of mine, and I kind of haven't got around to it yet because I've been kind of putting it on the back burner. But I don't know. Yeah, maybe I'll get around to this. Hopefully one day soon.
I started playing that, and I was going to start streaming it. And at the time, I wasn't really speaking about it on any of my content. So this is actually probably the first time I'm saying it. But like, I just lost my car. I just lost my job. I was losing all my wrestling bookings. So I couldn't travel. And I was also going through a divorce. And I'm like, I'm going to play Breath of the Wild. I'm like, my life is already too hard. I hate this. But I was like, I can't play this. I can't play this. My life is already difficult. This game is frustrating.
You can't games that add like more strife and anxiety or to your life. It's like, nope, I can't. No way.
Like, give me Minecraft. I'm done.
I play a lot of like Apex Legends with some buddies of mine. It's like a battle royale game. That's it's really fun. And but yeah, that's kind of.
So I'm gonna end with this. I know you're probably gonna give me the humble Matt Makowski, but I speak it into existence. It's Mania weekend.
Yeah,
you have an opportunity. Let's just say 3 bookings. We're not giving you the full 9 speedball, right? Fantasy book your 3 matches.
I don't want. You're killing me, Anthony. I don't like to do this.
You have to speak into existence. If there's who's a name out there, you're like, man, I really want to work them. We haven't, or maybe we worked in the past and now we're 2 different
I'll
performers.
do it. It's fine. It's not a big deal. But like, so I want to be on the Bloodsport show. If there's a Bloodsport show, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I
shoot for the stars.
Like Kyle O'Reilly.
Oh my God, he's coming back from neck injury soon.
I know. I saw Malachi Black. Or this is kind of a really far-fetched one, but Minoru Tanaka, the from Japan, who's still wrestling. He's in his twilight years, as it will, but he's kind of like a legend. I feel like he doesn't get enough credit for how good he is and was, and I honestly watch a lot of his matches and his tape, and I emulate a lot of the things that he did. So that would be like a huge dream matchup for me. But yeah, those other two guys were kind of top of mind in terms of Bloodsport matches.
I you know what? I never thought I wanted a match so much until you just said Kyle O'Reilly.
I mean, I look at the wrestling landscape, and I feel like if anybody is similar to me, it's him. I do feel like I bring a lot of unique things to the table, but I feel like if you had to compare me to anybody, I feel like I'm probably closest to him. If you had to,
I agree.
Yeah,
and because like killer, like in the ring, tear your face off, really, really talented, very technical, but also like you have a goofy side. Like I've seen you and Travis wear wigs and
you were mentioning earlier, but like with the hair, like when I got hurt, for some reason my brain, I was just like, I'm not going to cut my hair until I'm better, until I'm ready to go, until I'm like, get the clear or whatever to like that. I'm ring ready or ready to go back. So, and then it kind of snowballed into like, I want to make these videos about like my buddies, like speculating about where I've been and do all this goofy stuff, like dress up like Bob Ross and the Joker and a bunch of wild stuff. And then, have Hollow Wicked invade my mind and snap me out of this funk. A lot of that stuff was real. Like I wanted to tell a story about like real anxieties and things that we as professional wrestlers endure, and sort of having mentors and friends to help you to kind of lift you out of that kind of stuff. So those videos I worked really hard on, and it meant a lot to me. I know I went on a little segue there, but
no, that's fine. I love it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of, again, I'm like a collective guy. I'm kind of in the JCW. I haven't officially wrestled there, but GCW kind of umbrella. And I would love to be on spring break if there's a spring break in Philly. Maybe with whichever one of those guys that I don't wrestle at Bloodsport, I could wrestle on it at spring break. Or
I know the name has been said a few times on this podcast, but I think you and Speedball would have a banger.
that he'd be up there. If that would be, I feel like that would be a pretty sick spring break match if I had to say so.
Yeah. And then obviously some people recently released from WWE. There's some names out there that I think would be fun. You have your Zigglers, you have your Shelton Benjamins.
I hate those thoughts when guys get released, but I was like, man, what about Ziggler or Shelton Benjamin at Bloodsport? That would be sick.
What's his name? Mustafa Ali.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see where the chips kind of fall with those guys.
I think Cardona changed that mind state of a release, right? So obviously it sucks to get released, but like it all comes down to your work ethic as well. Like if you leave and then you go into like, well, I'm just done. I got my WWE money. I'm going to take a seat and relax. Yeah. Or do you become Matt Cardona and be like, give me everything, and then you just take over independent? Like he embraces like I know he says he hates it in this whole thing, but he embraced it. He's even saying now, like, bro, everybody wants me to come back and I can sign a contract whenever I want, but this is the heart right here. And I love that he's taken up that mantle. And I feel like a guy like Ali or Ziggler, could you imagine Ziggler on the scene just doing GCW shows? And
dude, I mean, here's the thing with Cardona. He is an anomaly. Like I think his work ethic and the amount of, because it's not like he just did it, or it's not like he just like the vignettes, the promos, the storytelling at the different companies. It's all just like, it's like all next level stuff. And obviously he has the he has the name and he was with the WWE for however long, over a decade.
But everyone like wrote him off. They're like, "Oh, he's done. Forget about it. No one cares about Zack
he was
Ryder."
kind of a, he was kind of whatever. Like I mean, no disrespect to him. I think he's phenomenal talent, but he was, at least in WWE, he was a mid carder or whatever. And yeah, it just sucks how that kind of stuff. The fans then perceive you a certain way. It's just the way certain things get talked about in wrestling kind of just irks me a little bit. But like
we were talking about before, like everyone's like, "Oh, well, they released these other names that we're not even talking about that were released," and then like they're like, "Well, who do you think?" And I'm like, honestly, Rick Boogs. I think that guy
is special.
He's going to be amazing. Like he's going to be the sleeper. And another one I think too, the Maximale models. Like
they have potential. And they've been talking about all the ideas that they've had and that maybe they'd want to do. I'm sure like somebody's going to do something with them.
Yeah, we'll it's just like people think that you're not talented because you're stuck in that mid card hell at WWE, and you're like, no, these people are very good and they're super creative because there's more to your character and what you're being told to be played, you're being booked as, and it's exciting. I that's why I love this independent scene. But the little bit here, I do have a sponsored question. Logos by Hunter. He helps me out a lot. I missed it a few episodes, but I try to get them in because I get so caught up in my own conversation. But if you could write a letter to a younger Matt Makowski, what would that letter say?
Oh man,
ends on a deep one. Yeah.
Like a younger wrestler, Matt Makowski.
Whatever age you think needs that letter.
Man, I don't know. This is wild because I maybe never even thought that I'd be doing this. Like when I was like getting before I kind of really got into wrestling, I was like, it just seemed like it was like this, like, where do wrestlers come from? Like how do you, I don't know. I guess just in my brain, it's like becoming a movie star. It's like, I know that's a possibility, right?
But not from these dirtballs in PA. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't know. Yeah, it just seems like it just seems like very unattainable. Like I don't know. Like somehow, but obviously, everyone that's gotten to that point has like busted their ass. Almost all of them. I know some people fall into things or given things because they know people and stuff like that. But like almost everybody, kind of has a dream or a goal, and then they just put everything into it. So I mean, I don't know. I'm not really answering the question, but I've always kind of been this like, if I can't do it 100% to my ability, I'm not going to do it. And that's kind of why I got out of MMA, was because like it just didn't seem like I was going to be able to put the amount of work that I knew I needed to put in to get to where I wanted to go. So I moved on. And I have like zero regrets about any of that. With wrestling, it's a similar kind of thing for me. It was actually, he was Dasher Hatfield at the time, but I was at a meeting with a lot of prominent, it was Chuck Taylor, Orange Cassidy, Avery Good. It was a lot of Wrestle Factory coaches.
Another matchup I need too, by the way.
Which,
you and Avery?
We wrestled at the Super 8 actually in 2021. So that's I've got a little highlight of it on my social. But yeah, I wouldn't mind a round 2 with him.
He's teasing comes back and then he's like, no, I'm done again. But
he wrestled at LVAC
he did
last weekend. Yeah. But it was a big multi-man. I don't have a super great answer off the top of my head. It's
just give it your all.
Yeah, I mean that's just kind of the way I've always been. Like I know that's kind of a canned, like stereotypical kind of answer, but I don't know. I feel like I've heard a lot of this kind of stuff recently, but it's as hard as it is, like it's worth it, and a lot of that's just how you perceive things. Like, what does that even mean? Like,
yeah,
you kind of have to make it worth it in your own mind, because there's a very strong chance that, pursuing this lofty goal, that you might not make quite get to that spot. But everything you kind of accomplished on the way is still like valuable, or still that's still awesome. You know, like I've done a lot of cool things that I maybe thought I never would do. And so I wouldn't take anything back, and I have no regrets, you know, with anything I've done in terms of professional wrestling. So, yeah, I'm in it till the wheels fall off, I think.
Well, I appreciate that answer. A lot of these interviews, the reason I love them so much, and this is such a passion project for me, is because it also motivates me. I know we're in two different separate ideas of what we're trying to accomplish, but it's still the same thing. Like, a dream is a dream regardless of how you get there. But just, you know, I just need you to know that, you know, your setbacks and all that stuff that you went through when you were, you know, going through in your own head and your body and your life, man, like, you're an inspiring person, and having this conversation today, I got a lot from it personally, and it motivates me to keep moving as well. Dude, you're there. Like, just keep working. Everything about you have the blueprint. You know exactly what you need to do.
Thanks, man.
Keep grinding. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for doing this. Where can people find you on social media and or support you in any way?
Oh, appreciate it. On Twitter, I'm at the Matt Makowski, and on Instagram, I'm Matthew Makowski.
Do you still have your merch pages up?
I need to get back on that train. So I think there's a Matt Makowski, a Big Cartel, but hopefully some new merch from myself coming soon. So,
well, I have some logo people. If you need a cool spoof, hit them up. They're they do great work. Maybe get that Weapon X font. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much for hanging in there and being on this long journey. We're closing in on 100 episodes, closing in on the end of the year. I appreciate you all so much. Thank you. Here's some music by the Converse Kid, and we'll see you on the next episode of ABJ Podcast.